All right, here's the one of the first edible mushrooms I found today. They're very small, so I'm not going to pick them. But you can see these right here. These are a crown tip coral. There's some over here. There's quite a few growing off this log. I'll check back in a couple days, see if they've gotten any bigger. But I've never found these very big until they've been completely dried out. But they are good in soups. Cook them thoroughly, boil them, and they've got a nice little woody flavor, and they act almost like an Asian noodle kind of thing in your soup. So it's really good in a chicken broth with some vegetables. So we'll keep looking, see what else we can find. Okay, here we are. This is what I'm actually looking for. So I'm looking for some chanterelles today. And you can see this bright yellow mushroom with a white stem. Looks like a slug has already started to eat through the bottom of it. But if you look at them underneath, you can see they don't have gills so much as like crevices that kind of go down the stem. And so that's how you know it's a chanterelle. The bright yellow color also gives it away. I'm hoping to find a few more of these. I did a beef brisket yesterday, and I found a recipe for a beef brisket sandwich with brie cheese and pickled chanterelles. So I want to make some pickled chanterelles, and we'll do that a little bit later. So let's keep looking, shall we? Okay, so here we are walking through some uncharted woods, and as you can see, there's some couple bunches of chanterelles. There's a bunch there, some there, and there's probably more around that I just am not seeing right now. But the nice thing about chanterelles, I think I said this earlier, is they always grow in the same spot. They generally grow in bunches. A lot of times there'll be rings. You can kind of see, if I zoom out a little bit, that this is one large, almost fairy ring of mushrooms. You can see kind of the circle. And that seems to be the way I usually find them, other than that earlier spot where there's just so many of them. They just grow on top of each other. But I'm going to pick these, and I always look for areas like this where it's relatively clear. I just came through from up there, and there's a lot of Asian ivy growing in these woods. It's kind of an invasive species. So there's probably a lot of mushrooms that I missed just because I can't see the ground when I'm looking for them, or it's hard, or I'm trying not to trip and fall on my face. But anyway, I'm going to pick these, probably pick a few more, and then we're going to go home and do something with them. Stay tuned. Okay, here's another one that I found. Here's some here. And there's little patches of this. It looks like the crown tip fungus, crown tip coral that I showed you earlier somewhere else. But this, as you can see, appears to be growing from the ground. So, and it's not quite the little spires or towers that the coral is. This looks more wavy, kind of like a brain or another type of coral. I believe these are Ramirias, and so they are edible. I've heard, although some people have called them the Russian roulette of diarrhea. There's a few more back in there. But I'm gonna let these grow. I have eaten these before. They require a lot of boiling and preparation, but they are good in soups. They shred up kind of nicely. I've also heard of people eating them, frying them crispy once they've been boiled for a while. So I have one more spot I want to show you with a different mushroom, and then we're gonna go home and cook something. All right, one more mushroom I'm going to show you. This is some golden oysters. You can see them growing on this stump here. There's a whole bunch up at the top that I can't quite reach, although these are a little bigger than I like to pick them. These are getting past their prime. There's some all the way around here. I like to pick these when they're quite a bit smaller. I mean, more like this size here. These parts here are almost, yeah, they're a little bit too far gone. Some of these on this log over here are still good. They're getting a little buggy, but you can wash that out of them. And these are actually very tasty. I'm not going to pick any today because I already have pounds and pounds of these in my freezer. And again, I really like them when they're smaller. They cook up better. They don't kind of fall apart. Like I said, these do taste good. You know, fry them in garlic and butter, and what's not to love. So anyway, we're gonna go home, and I'm gonna do some pickled chanterelles. We're gonna make some maybe some Chef Milo's creamy mushroom sauce, and we'll go from there and see what we have. So Chef Chad leaving the forest and going back to the kitchen where there's a lot less bugs. All right, here we are with our golden treasure we found in the woods today. These are about 2.5 pounds of chanterelle mushrooms. I am dry sauteing them. I know you say, wait, that's not dry. There's a bunch of liquid in there. So I rinsed them off with some salt water, put them on paper towel to dry a little bit. And then they were completely dry when I put them in this pan, just a little medium high heat. And all that liquid is coming from the mushrooms themselves. So we are going to let that cook down until they've released almost all the water they will. And then we're gonna remove them, add some ingredients for our brine to get all that yummy mushroom water out of the pan and all that flavor into our brine. And we will move on to the next step of our pickled chanterelle mushrooms. Oh. Okay, so here's the mushrooms. They've cooked down. The liquid was almost completely gone. This pan was dry. I added a half a cup of water, 2 cups of white vinegar, a third of a cup of granulated sugar. I'm adding a tablespoon here of some maple sugar. And I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of kosher salt. And then we will be adding a couple bay leaves and some fresh thyme sprigs, and we're going to let that dissolve and get all that goodness out of the pan, that mushroom flavoring, and we will move on to the next step. Okay, here we are. I've got my mushrooms that I sauteed, dry sauteed, got rid of most of the liquids. They gave up almost all the water that they're going to give up, which will help them absorb some of the pickling mixture, which I showed earlier was about a third of a cup of sugar, a tablespoon of maple sugar, 2 tablespoons of kosher salt, half a cup of water, and 2 cups of white vinegar. And then I've got a couple bay leaves, some peppercorns, and some other fresh thyme in there. So I'm going to take my jars, which have been sterilized, heated, washed, cleaned very well. Pack a bunch of these in there. Do that in all of them. This one, yeah, you can pack them down, but you want to leave about a ½ an inch of room so that they'll be covered in the liquid. It looks like I'm going to have to get another jar, but I'll do that afterwards. So I'm going to do these here. And yeah, I might need a smaller jar, but I'll get one more jar later to take care of the rest of those. And then to that, I will be adding pay no attention to that. I will be adding some of my brining solution, just enough to cover them up. We should have some good flavors in there. A little sweetness, a little vinegar. Okay. Again, you want them to be covered. So we're going to put lids on these, seal them. One is going to go right in the refrigerator because I'm going to make a brisket, pickled chanterelle, and brie sandwich out of that. The other 2 I'm going to do a water bath can, and we will have those on the shelf in case I want to use them some other time. So thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with me through my walk in the woods and seeing what I was going to do with these chanterelles. Now get in the kitchen and cook something.